My cousins mocked my waitress job at the family reunion. They didn't know which restaurant. The potato salad had too much mayonnaise, the ribs were overdone, and my cousin Bradley's voice carried across the backyard like a foghorn designed specifically to humiliate me. The Martinez family reunion happened every 4th of July at my Uncle Roberto's house in Arlington, and for the past 5 years, it had become my personal theater of degradation. Still serving coffee. Bradley laughed, his investment banker bonus practically radiating from his designer polo shirt. Maybe one day you'll get a real career, Sophia. You're what, 35 now? Bit old to still be waiting tables, don't you think? The cluster of cousins around the picnic table erupted in laughter. Everyone joined in because Bradley was the success story, the one who'd made it big on Wall Street, the one whose opinion somehow became gospel at these gatherings. I smiled, adjusting the simple sundress I'd worn specifically because it wouldn't draw attention. Actually, I just served the president last night. The laughter grew louder, more mocking. Bradley slapped his knee like I'd just told the joke of the century. Right, and I had dinner with the Pope, Cousin Maria chimed in, her real estate business card holder prominently displayed on the table because she never missed an opportunity to network, even at family gatherings. Come on, Sophia. We all know you work at some restaurant downtown. There's no shame in food service, but don't make up stories. Speaking of which, Bradley's wife Jennifer added, diamonds glinting on her fingers as she gestured. We ate at Le Bernardin last month. Now that's fine dining. You should apply there, Sophia. They might pay better than wherever you're working now. I kept my smile steady, a skill I'd perfected over years of practice. The pay is actually quite good where I am. What is it, $20 an hour now with tips? Uncle Roberto asked, not unkindly but with that particular tone of pity that somehow hurt worse than mockery. The economy's been tough on everyone. She probably can't even afford to eat at the places she serves at, Jennifer whispered to Maria, loud enough for everyone to hear. It's actually sad when you think about it. My phone buzzed with a secure message, but I ignored it. Today was supposed to be my day off, the one day a year I tried to pretend I had a normal job, a normal life, a normal family that didn't treat me like their favorite charity case. Remember when she dropped out of culinary school? Bradley continued, on a roll now. All that money Aunt Carmen spent, and she couldn't even finish. I hadn't dropped out. I'd been recruited. But that distinction would mean nothing to them. I tried to get her a job at my firm, Maria announced to the table. Reception work, good benefits. But apparently, that wasn't creative enough for our Sophia. Creative, Jennifer snorted. Is that what we're calling poverty now? The teenagers at the next table were listening, absorbing the family hierarchy, learning who commanded respect and who deserved pity. My teenage nephew Alex looked at me with sympathy that made my chest tight. At least she's working, my mother said quietly from her seat at the end of the table. She'd long since stopped defending me with any real vigor, worn down by years of her siblings' children succeeding while her daughter served coffee. Barely, Bradley muttered. How do you even afford rent in DC on a waitress salary? I manage, I said simply. She lives in some studio apartment in Northeast, Maria informed everyone. I offered to show her some affordable places in the suburbs, but she insists on staying in the city. The apartment was actually a cover. My real residence was a lovely Georgetown townhouse, but the studio was where I received mail, where family could visit if they ever bothered, where I maintained my cover as a struggling food service worker. You know what kills me? Bradley leaned forward, warming to his theme. We all had the same opportunities. Same grandparents who came here with nothing, same chances to make something of ourselves. But some of us grabbed those opportunities, and some of us. He gestured at me, settled. I haven't settled, I said quietly. No. Then what do you call it? You're 35, single, no kids, no career, no property, no investments. You serve food to people who've actually made it. That's literally the definition of settling. My phone buzzed again. Then again. The emergency pattern. Excuse me, I said, standing. I need to check this. Oh, is the restaurant calling? Jennifer laughed. Someone needs their coffee refilled. I stepped away from the table, pulling out my phone. 3 missed calls from the White House communications director. A text from the head of presidential security. Urgent situation. Russian delegation issue. Need you here now. I walked back to the table where Bradley was mid-story about his latest bonus. I have to go, I said, gathering my purse. Let me guess, Bradley smirked. Emergency lunch shift? Those tips won't earn themselves. Something like that, I said. This is exactly what I mean, Bradley announced to the family. No commitment, no professional pride. Just dropping everything to go serve someone else's meal. This is why some people never advance. I was halfway to my car when I heard the motorcade. The distinctive sound of multiple vehicles moving in formation, the subtle whir of helicopter coverage above. Every head in the backyard turned as 3 black SUVs pulled up in front of Uncle Roberto's house. Secret Service agents emerged first, their movements precise and purposeful. Then, from the middle vehicle, stepped Director James Crawford, head of the Presidential Protective Division. "Chef Martinez," he called out, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent yard. "The president sends his compliments on yesterday's state dinner. The Russian foreign minister specifically requested your poire belle Hélène recipe." Every member of my family stood frozen, mouths open, as Director Crawford approached me. "I apologize for interrupting your family gathering," he continued, "but we have a situation. The Chinese delegation has requested specific modifications to tonight's menu based on your recommendations from last month. The president insists you personally oversee the preparations." "Chef!" Bradley's voice cracked on the word. Director Crawford turned to him with the expression of someone noticing an insect. "Executive Chef Martinez is the White House executive chef. She's been serving the president and international dignitaries for the past 3 years." That's impossible," Maria stammered. "She's a waitress." "A waitress?" Crawford's eyebrow raised. Chef Martinez graduated top of her class from the Culinary Institute of America, trained under Thomas Keller at the French Laundry, and was personally recruited by the previous administration. She has the highest security clearance available to civilian staff and manages a team of 12 sous chefs. Jennifer had gone pale. "The White House, she cooks for the actual president." "She does far more than cook," Crawford corrected. "Chef Martinez designs state dinner menus that are tools of diplomacy. Last month, her carefully crafted menu helped secure a trade agreement with Japan. The Prime Minister was so impressed with her authentic kaiseki presentation that it opened doors our diplomats had been trying to walk through for years." I stood there, watching my family recalibrate their entire worldview. Bradley's mouth was opening and closing soundlessly. "Sophia," my mother whispered, "is this true?" "Yes, Mom," I said gently. "I've been the executive chef for 3 years." "But you said you worked at a restaurant," Uncle Roberto said weakly. "I said I worked in food service in D.C., I corrected. "You all assumed the rest. Why didn't you tell us?" Maria demanded. Director Crawford answered for me. "Security protocols. The identity of the White House executive chef is protected for national security reasons. Public knowledge could make Chef Martinez a target for foreign intelligence services or worse." "Foreign intelligence?" Bradley squeaked. "The president's food security is a matter of national importance," Crawford said flatly. "Chef Martinez's work requires the highest levels of discretion and trust. The fact that her own family didn't know speaks to her professionalism." Another agent approached, whispered something to Crawford. He nodded and turned back to me. "Chef, the president would like to speak with you." He handed me a secure phone. "Mr. President," I said, aware that 30 members of my family were watching in stunned silence. The president's familiar voice came through clearly. "Sophia, I'm sorry to interrupt your holiday. The situation with the Chinese delegation is delicate. They've specifically requested the tea-smoked duck you prepared for President Xi last year. No one else can replicate it. I need you here." "Of course, Mr. President. I'll be there in 20 minutes. And Sophia, thank you for last night. The Russian foreign minister hasn't stopped talking about your chocolate soufflé. You may have single-handedly improved our nuclear negotiations." I handed the phone back to Crawford, who was struggling not to smile at the expression on Bradley's face. "Wait," Jennifer said, her voice small. "When you said you served the president last night." "The 4th of July state dinner," I confirmed. 8 courses, 4 to 5 dignitaries. The president specifically requested my lavender honey ice cream for dessert. "The one that was on the news." Maria gasped. "They said it was the most successful diplomatic dinner in decades." "Chef Martinez's menu was instrumental in that success," Crawford confirmed. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we need to return to the White House." As I moved toward the SUV, Bradley found his voice. "Sophia, wait. I'm sorry. I didn't know." I turned back to face him, to face all of them. "No, Bradley. You didn't want to know. You saw someone in food service and immediately assumed they were beneath you. You never once asked about my work, never showed interest beyond your assumptions. But you let us think. I let you think what you wanted to think, I interrupted. Every time I mentioned cooking for important people, you laughed. Every time I said I loved my job, you pitied me. You were so busy looking down on me that you never looked at me. My mother stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Mija, the White House. Really? I softened. Really, Mom. I've cooked for kings and queens, presidents and prime ministers. That studio apartment you all pity me for? It's a security requirement. My real home is beautiful. That waitress salary you all mock. I make more than Bradley. Bradley flinched. But more importantly, I continued, I love what I do. I'm not serving coffee to strangers. I'm creating diplomatic bridges through food. That chocolate souffle the president mentioned. It helped secure an arms reduction treaty. The tea-smoked duck. It's part of negotiations that could prevent a trade war. We could have been proud of you, Uncle Roberto said quietly. You could have been proud of me when you thought I was a waitress, I replied. But you weren't. You were embarrassed. And that tells me everything about who you are. An agent opened the SUV door for me. As I climbed in, I heard Alex, my teenage nephew, say loudly, My aunt cooks for the president. That's the coolest thing ever. At least one person in the family got it. As we drove away, I saw them all standing in the yard, some still frozen in shock, others already pulling out their phones, probably Googling to verify what they'd just learned. Tomorrow, they'd tell everyone they knew that their cousin, their niece, their sister was the White House executive chef. They'd claim they always knew I was special, always supported me. But today, in this moment, they knew the truth. They'd mocked someone for serving food, only to discover that person served the most powerful people in the world. They'd laughed at my waitress job only to learn that my restaurant was the White House itself. My phone buzzed with a text from my sous chef. Chinese delegation just requested your famous dim sum alongside the duck. They said no one else captures the essence of Shanghai like you do. I smiled, already mentally preparing the menu. In 3 hours, I'd be in the White House kitchen, preparing food that could literally change the course of international relations. My cousins would be in Uncle Roberto's backyard, processing the fact that the family member they'd pitied was actually the most accomplished Martinez of our generation. Bradley had been wrong about one thing in particular. I hadn't settled. I'd risen to the very top of my profession. I just hadn't felt the need to announce it at every family gathering like it was a commodity to be traded for respect. Real success, I'd learned, didn't need to be broadcast. It spoke for itself. And sometimes, it spoke through the Secret Service showing up at a family barbecue to remind everyone that the person they'd dismissed as just a waitress was actually trusted with feeding and protecting the leader of the free world. The look on Bradley's face alone was worth 5 years of keeping the secret.